And you always bring us happiness, Jackson. Thank you. That was beautiful. So it is now my honor to introduce our guest speaker this morning, a familiar face for many of you, but for those of you who may not be aware, today our speaker is Reverend Dr. Betty Campbell Henderson. Dr. Betty began her spiritual journey when she was a student at Quaker College a few years ago. She discovered science of mind in 1975 while attending a service there, and that led her to be taking the coursework and becoming a licensed religious science practitioner. And for those of you who have been in the movement for a while, she was also a student of Dr. Vitura Papke's, which she's renowned. And anyway, in 2012, Dr. Betty's practitioner status became practitioner emeritus. She was ordained as a minister of religious science in 1995, and in 2002 received her Doctor of Divinity. Got a few little things going there for her, doesn't she? She is presently the owner and director of Soul Rays Limited. One more thing that the Henderson she came to this Center for Spiritual Living Prescott when she married Dr. Robert Henderson, and they worked here together. At that time, she became the director of education until their retirement. And so it is my great honor to introduce my friend, my teacher, and my mentor, Reverend Dr. Betty Henderson.
To be here. Whoopee! And I'm so happy you're applauding yourself, because that's what this is all about. It's about me, myself, and I, and we, ourselves, and you. This is what this is about. And thank you, Jackson, and happy birthday. You are such a delight. You are always so supportive. And life is good because he's here, right? Yes. Yeah. Well, I have notes, but who knows if I'll follow them. Spirit knows, though. I want to say thank you, though, to those of you who got the word that I would be speaking and made the journey here. And I want to thank all of you who I don't know, and I hope I get to know. And I want to honor my friends from Phoenix, Joseph and Beth Gross, and they brought me today this ribbons to honor our friends that we are seeing every single day on the news. So I'm just so happy that I can share with you, too, this lovely dress. I was told I should share the symbol and what it's all about. It's the very first time I've ever worn it. It was made specifically for me by a former Cambodian college student who lives in Boston, Massachusetts. She made it for me to wear in a ceremony that is a coming of age ceremony for young girls by the Cambodian tradition. And isn't it beautiful? It's and you know, all of this is hand sewn. You know, a lot of times when you buy things today that have sequins on it, they've been glued on, but this is all sewed on. The scarf was given to me by a student in Phoenix probably 20 years ago when I started doing women's groups. And the pin that's here is a brooch that has a picture of the Buddha on it. And while I was in Boston for that ceremony, the next day, 4 Buddhist monks did a ceremony and honored me and gave me this. They thanked me for teaching their students. So I wanted to get that out of the way. So how many of you here think that your life would be a little better if you prayed more? Well, folks, I got to tell you, you're praying all the time. Every word, every thought, every action that you are taking is a prayer, regardless of whether it's positive or negative. Ernest Holmes said, you know, when somebody was getting ready to say something about being sick, he said, whoops, whoops, whoops. Are you sure you want the consequences of about what you are about to say? Now, that's my paraphrase. But we get it, don't we? Do you think in that moment, before you say something, think something, or do something, about what the consequences might be? You know, I love this symbol. And for those of you who are not familiar with science of mind, religious science, that symbol is the best teaching tool I know. Because that symbol tells us exactly what life is all about. That circle there represents all of us. It represents the one, the divine. And we are all part of that one. There is no time, no place that we're not part of that one. The top, now it breaks it down into the aspects of the divine. And the top part of it is first cause, spirit, making its move into the subjective, impersonal law that we call soul. And then the bottom part is the manifestation, is what it becomes. So, you know, if I like to think about nature, because nature is our great teacher, that when you go out and plant a corn seed, you know that you're going to get corn when you plant it, because what's in that seed is what will come. It is placed into the soil, and I like to play around with words. So soil is the soul, but if you take the I in the soil and curve it, you get a U. You get soul. And I like to think that when I and you come together, we are one. And so when that creative process is taking place, God, in its creation of us, gave us free will. Gave us free will. First of all, you know, we had that wonderful garden that we could love and feel good all about. But then, you know, we got into thinking, well, I can do better than God can. Yep. And so we started to get out of sync, get out of harmony. And when we're in harmony, there is only love. There is only joy. There is only peace. But when we get into thinking that we can have all of it all the time and not looking at balance and harmony, you know, we can look around. Today we are seeing our forests die. We're seeing our rivers and our oceans polluted. We're seeing all kinds of things from what we created by thinking that we can take control. And God just said, okay, but I love you anyway. But I love you anyway. I'm going to have to pull out my glasses, I think. Nope. Ernest Holmes said in his Science of Mind textbook, page 279, if we know that the power which we are dealing with is principle. Now, what is principle? Principle never changes. It never changes. So when we know that what we're dealing with is principle and not personality, personality is favoritism. I gotta get a drink out of my cloudy water. It's got lemon in it. When I awakened this morning, I couldn't talk. So I best be a good girl and allow my voice to come from my diaphragm and not my vocal cords. If we have a real embodiment that we can demonstrate. Now, embodiment to me is a wonderful word. You know, I have to admit, I never heard it until I took Science of Mind classes. But embodiment means every cell, every fiber, every organ, every part of us feels it. Feels it. And that's when we demonstrate, when we feel it, when we absolutely know the truth. If we feel lack or feel poor, without friends, without opportunity, we should be sure to erase from our consciousness the sense of lack. Erase. Erase. Just wipe it away. In my classes that I've had in the past, I've handed out erasers. And I said to the students, this is the best tool you will ever have. Because whenever you make a mistake, you have the opportunity to erase it and know another way. We talk about forgiveness. Well, God forgives us all the time, whereas God just says, I love you. Do whatever you want to do. I love you. But we ourselves know deep inside of ourselves when we made a mistake. And a mistake is when we harm ourselves, someone else, taking it away from someone else. So when I talk to clients about prayer and they're saying, oh, I want you to pray for me to get this. And I say, well, let's talk about this. So let's take a house, because that's been the most recent one that came to me. I want a new home, and it's so expensive, and it's so this, and it's so that, and I know what I want, and I just can't afford it. And they went on and on. I said, hold it. So I would like for you to share with me, when you're in that home, how do you want to feel? And so we talk about, I want to feel safe. I want to feel loved. I want to feel without fear. I want to feel like I can just give. And so we go on with these things. And I said, so, do you trust God? Do you trust God? Well, some people say, well, I don't know if there is a God. And I said, well, that's valid. So what do you believe in? Well, I believe in that tree out there. Okay, well, tell me about it. And so they tell me about how that tree came from a seed, it was nurtured by the soil, it grew to be a tree, and that it is being what it's supposed to be. That's interesting. Well, that's life, isn't it? That is the creative process, and that is you. And in order for you to be who you are, you have to start right here. You have to come to love yourself. Oh, you can see where I'm going with this, you know. Well, I think that's very egotistical to love myself. Oh, really? Do you think that tree loves itself? That tree is doing what it was created to do. Are you doing what you were created to do? And he goes, well, I'm working hard. I said, so tell me about it. Well, as we go through all this conversation, we are defining just what it is that we really want to feel and how we can be that by really embracing ourselves and honoring whatever that creative process was. Are you hearing it? Okay. So, Ernest goes on to say, this thought must meet the, wait a minute, back up. We erase thought from consciousness by pouring in an opposite thought. Now, I know you've heard of affirmations. You can, in this building, you walk around, you'll see affirmations everywhere. You put out in front of you, in your thought process, what you want and not what you don't want. See, this young man who wanted a house was thinking of all the things he didn't want instead of what he wanted. He wants the house, but. So you got to erase those buts. Erase them. And how do you do that? Well, one of the things that one of my favorite mystics, and her name is Florence Scovel Shinn. She wrote in her book, The Magic Path of Intuition is the path of the heart. Now today we're hearing a lot of things about the heart, and that's where feeling is. The heart is the feeling process that we kind of ignore. And it's where our intuition comes from. And in trusting our intuition, we then are guided by the divine, by that source who's going to lead us to the direction that we want to be. So when we're treating or praying for something, my feeling is to pray for what you want to feel. If it's a house, it's a relationship, how do you want to feel in that relationship? And honor it in yourself first. Start being that. Being that. And put up around you an affirmation that will remind you constantly, oh, I just had that negative thought. And believe me, this is what I've been working on lately. Because every time I turn on the TV, I get to see what I don't want to see. I get to hear what I don't want to hear. And people can say, well, you got to be aware of what's going on. Not until I'm strong enough to handle it. It's like the alcoholic. When he or she surrenders to its higher power, they don't go to a bar. They don't hang out in a bar They hang out with people who are not drinking and who are affirming them on their journey until they're strong enough to be around it. And so, of late, I've had to turn all those things off, but I still want to know what's going on. So what I do now is when I turn on my cell phone to get the news, I pray consciously. I ask, please guide me. Help me to stay centered and knowing that every single person is God. They're a part of God. Even though their actions are not showing what we think of the God self, they are. The seed of their being is still God. So we work consciously of trying to see that seed within them. I was watching a YouTube thing, this has been a year ago, and in it was a shaman from Hawaii who is well known for loving and blessing all things. And there was a woman in the audience who said, but how can I love and bless somebody I know that's evil? And you know what the shaman said? He said, whatever that person is acting out as, you can always go to the fact that when he exhales, flowers bloom. So in other words, when our exhalation, we are putting out there carbon dioxide, and that's what the plants need. So if we can find one thing, and if your mind can't think of that one thing, think of that. That person's breath is nourishing a flower someplace. And say, thank you, God. Thank you. Thank you for that opportunity to realize once more with real eyes that I do not uplift the energy of the earth by criticizing and judging others. I do nothing but make it worse. So as I am supporting these people, I am also supporting those people who are the aggressors, supporting their spirit to be uplifted by seeing that every breath they exhale, they are giving life to a flower, a plant. I know it's a stretch, folks, but I can tell you that that's what this stuff is all about, is stepping out of the comfort in life. It's not easy to risk, to have the courage to stand and be accountable for the truth. It's not easy. But your heart calls it. And I'm going to tell you, once you know a truth principle, you can never lie to yourself again, because it's always going to percolate up saying, you better think that over again. Because truth is the most powerful force. It is the most powerful force, and we are here to serve. We are here to vibrate higher and greater things. My friend, I didn't meet him when I was in Albuquerque, but I just love Father Richard Rohr. He's a Franciscan priest, and he has a center in Albuquerque. And, of course, I love St. Francis. I try to say that prayer about at least 2 or 3 times a week. But he says that God desires that we have intimacy with God. To be intimate with God. Now, what does that mean? It means to be vulnerable. And when we are in a relationship with somebody, we want to be vulnerable in order to get to know and bond with each other. But you know, our fear, we build this wall. We build this wall around us, and we say, well, I'll let you know this about me, but I won't let you know that about me, and I will protect myself. And what we're doing is we're actually destroying ourselves, because that intimacy is how we grow. And God deserves us being intimate with him or her or it. And so that's what meditation for me is. When I'm meditating, and believe me, I meditate in many different ways, and there is no just one absolute way. Meditation is being one with the source and coming to a balance in yourself. So after I broke my leg and I was told that, you're going to have to exercise every single day, or you're going to be crippled, or you're going to be this or that, I put up in my dining room, took out the dining room suit, I put a ballet bar, and so this is part of my meditation. I go to that bar, I stretch out, and I get one with my body. I thank my body, my fingers, my toes, my legs. I thank my body for all that it is and all that it does, because it's a manifestation of God. And as I do that, it leads me into doing some yoga and then going to my chair and looking at my altar, in which I have a Native American flute that I love to listen to. And then I'll get to that space of synchronicity with my head, my heart, my soul. And I know that is conscious meditation. We go around and unconsciously do things, and we're still always talking with God. And when I came up with the topic, hello, there's no one here right now, but if you will leave your name, I thought about God and how God is always speaking to us, and we're not listening. Attention. Well, I don't know what I did with it, but I had a picture. And the picture is, and I know all of you have seen this picture, of Jesus standing at the door, knocking. Have you not seen that picture? Well, it's a beautiful picture. He's standing before a beautiful wooden wall. Now, my good friend Marcia, she made me aware that that door doesn't have a doorknob. That God is always listening, knocking, but we have to open the door. We have to open ourselves up to God in order to feel the presence. And the presence is being present in this moment. Being aware. When you are present to each other and you acknowledge each other, you are present to the divine. You are being present to the divine. And you hear that word namaste all the time. It's a beautiful word. I think my husband started using it first in this philosophy way back in 1975, 78. And what it means is I honor that place in you where the whole universe resides. I honor that place in me where the whole universe resides. And when you honor that place in me and I honor that place in you, we are one. Namaste. Namaste. So I have to be on time. And so would my friend Jackson, so just to kind of go over a little bit real quick, be conscious, folks. Stay awake. Think very honestly and lovingly about what you are about to say or what you are about to do. And ask yourself, is there another way? Is there another way? And if there is, work at it. Work at it. Create a time that you can dedicate to being in prayer and in meditation. You will see your life change if you do it, I guarantee you. Our good friend, and he is a good friend. I found the picture. But our good friend Thich Nhat Hanh, a Vietnamese monk, taught being mindful in the moment leads us to compassion. Compassionate behavior to and for all life. Think about that. For when we are compassionate, we are creating a world that works for everyone. Compassion. In his book, Call Me by My True Names, he has this poem, and it's called For Warmth. I hold my face between my hands. No, I'm not crying. I hold my face between my hands to keep my loneliness warm. Two hands protecting, two hands nourishing, two hands to prevent my soul from leaving me in anger. Namaste. I stand before you. I stand with you. I stand for peace. I stand for love. I stand for joy. And I know that in this very room right now, the peace, the joy, the love that resonates in every heart is the true nature of who we are. It is divine. It is peace. It is joy. And I celebrate right now the awareness that what we think, do, and be is being guided and directed by our Creator. That one cause, that one purpose, to live in harmony, to be a joyful, supportive, and compassionate essence. That's who we are. I know that. I know that for the Centers for Spiritual Living here in Prescott. I know that for their new interim minister who's coming forth to work and be and serve, that their purpose is love, and that the healing that has taken place is released to the nothingness from which it came. And so all is well, all is well, all is peace, all is joy. And so it is. Amen.